Everybody should have to work retail or work at a restaurant before they do anything. Like you have to understand what it's like working with the public and how important the public is for your business. It's everybody should have to do it. We love helping builders and developers create a community, create beautiful homes, and create that path to wealth through real estate. As we've been in the industry, 20 years, it's really about giving back to the next generation and getting them ready to take our place. And there's no competition in this. No one's going to do what you do, and no one's going to do it the way you do it. So I am not worried about giving all of my trade secrets, if there is any, to anybody, because they still have to perform it and they still have to find their group of people. There's plenty of business for everybody. A lot of relationships in this business as partners, it never works, because either I would be like, well, I got that client, or I did more on that one, so I deserve more. And there becomes this ickiness that comes through money, right? Because money kind of can ruin a lot of relationships.
Yeah. Hey guys, welcome back to More Than a Mortgage. I'm really excited for today's conversation. If you're new to us, what we do here on this show is we get to have the opportunity to meet great people that are part of our industry, and we get to hear their stories, and we want to give honor to their stories, because really story is kind of what shapes us and makes us who we are. I'm excited today to have a conversation with Jenn Hickey. If I didn't say my name's Gavin Sessions, so maybe I should start over and do that again, but maybe not. This has actually gone pretty good, so we're just going to keep rolling.
Yes.
I got connected to Jenn Hickey through Jason Oates, who owns O2 Construction. He's a great guy. He recorded an episode with us a while back, so go check his episode out if you haven't seen it. But this is kind of how this works. One person leads to another person, and relationship leads to relationship. So I'm excited to have Jenn on the show today. We've been talking for several months about having her come on, and Jenn, I'm excited to have you on.
I'm so excited.
Good. So you're a local real estate agent with a very, I would say, a niche focus on our builder community here in the Valley. Is that right?
Absolutely, yes.
So tell us maybe the name of your company, and then of course I want to hear how you got into this business.
Yeah. So I run the team, which is Spotlight Real Estate, and we're under our broker, which we just moved from Utah and bought into, which is Presidio. And so now we have a Utah and a Idaho office, which is very exciting. We haven't been owners of a brokerage before, so that's kind of its own exciting thing happening. But yeah, we started focusing on new construction kind of right from the beginning. I actually never did anything else but. So as soon as I got into real estate, I instantly went into new construction, which is kind of a weird path, but if it came from something else that, ends up making sense. But we love helping builders and developers create something, create a community, create beautiful homes, and kind of create that path to wealth through real estate.
I love that. So obviously you're trying to sell homes to end consumers, right? That's the ultimate goal. But who would you say your actual customer is? Would you say it's probably the builder community?
Yeah. So a lot of people are like, how things are with their sellers, right? They have to go out and get new construction, or they have to get homes for sale to list and resale and all that stuff. Same with buyers.
Yeah.
So our sellers are builders, which may have 5 to 20 listings. So we kind of do everything that we can to make their life easier and to help create a process, create plans, create design, all of those things. Because in the end, the agent knows what the consumer's looking for. They hear it all the time. So we love to collab with them and say, you know what, this is what you need to build here because this is what's selling. This is what's not selling, so this is what you probably want to stay away from. So it's a very collaborative effort, which I love. And it also helps mitigate the risk, which is our biggest focus, is mitigating the builder's risk and the developer's risk as well.
I love that. So you guys are actually helping the builders build the right types of homes in the right neighborhoods at the right location, as opposed to a builder who says, hey, I might just have this great idea and I want to go build this. And maybe that's actually not the right product.
Yeah, we definitely don't come in and put a sign up at the end. We're from the beginning. We explain why this is the product they should build. It's helped so many builders not have products sit, keeping it in the right price point. And hey, a lot of times it's before we even start. Hey, this land is too expensive to do what you want to do in here. We can't even start the process. And we know that. And then that has mitigated their risk throughout the entire process. So sometimes the answer is, hey, this project isn't going to work. This is what would have to be here, or we'll have to adjust pricing on the lots. So it's a huge help to, especially we work with a lot of small builders.
Yep.
One bad deal it could be game changing and career ending. So we really are really big on knowing everything up front. And that's from our background in appraising and being very honest with them about what's kind of coming down the pipe.
That's cool. I don't think I had any visibility to that. I mean, prior to of course, having conversations, but I would say the general consumer that's out there shopping new construction or maybe a newer agent, they probably have no visibility into the amount of influence that you guys have before a project even, before dirt's even moved, right?
Yeah, it's a very interesting thing. We have I teach classes obviously about new construction, and I have a lot of agents that are like, well, how do you get into it? And they kind of get to that role of like, they're going to just start calling all the builders, right? And they're going to cold call them like they cold call any resale client.
Yeah.
And I kind of go through why that doesn't work. And one is a lot of builders have relatives that are doing it, right? And so you have to know what's going on in our market and who those are. So if you're calling a builder that their wife is their agent, it's probably not going to go well, right? And it also looks like you're not educated in the process. So what we do is we find the land for them to build on. And that's how you see a lot of these agents' names on signs is they started from the beginning. They didn't have the community build the homes and then hire an agent. And so a lot of people just think that's how it would be because that's how it is in resale.
Right.
So they don't realize how important those relationships are and how important building those relationships have been. I mean, I've been with my longest builder probably 14 years, and that's a lot. And so when you're getting a cold call from someone, of course they're not going to answer the phone and get back to you. It's not that they're being rude or it's just not even on the, it's not what they have time for because you're not understanding how the whole process is. So we just try to educate agents so they, are careful of that.
That's good.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's back up just a little bit because obviously you did something before real estate, unless you came from high school and went right into new construction real estate. So tell us a little bit of your story. We'd love to kind of understand how you got to Boise, Idaho. We'd love to understand maybe what you were doing before real estate. Was real estate a dream from when you were 10 years old? Mm-hmm. I have no idea, but would love to hear from you on that.
Yeah. So I'm from Cypress, California, so Orange County. Graduated high school there, and we had one friend that came to Boise State. We had never heard of it. It wasn't the thing then. Like, I feel like I started a trend personally, but that everyone from Southern California started coming up to Boise State to go to school. And I came to help set up the inaugural women's soccer season. And we had 2 years before that started that we were a club team. And then we kind of transitioned through Title IX to get into that space, which was really exciting. I'm still friends with that team to this day. And that's kind of how we started getting up here. I came up with a boyfriend at the time. My parents drove us up and we never looked back. And it was the best decision I ever made for sure. And it was much smaller. As you know, this was in 95.
Yeah.
And it was nothing like it is today. So seeing the growth, it's like I've been here longer than I was in California now. So this is definitely home for sure.
Yeah.
But I will say, absolutely did not plan on being in real estate at all. Like that was not my path. I actually came up here to go to school for exercise physiology.
Okay. So did you come up here to go to Boise State?
Mm-hmm, to play at BSU, yep. And then once I got up here, I wanted to design, this is a shocker, women's running shoes and soccer cleats.
Okay.
Because as a soccer player in the 90s, we as women had to wear men's cleats. Tennis shoes were really not made for women. They were really more made for a man's foot, and then they kind of changed just the sizing.
Sure.
And so they weren't as comfortable. Of course, then Nike has taken off and done an amazing job making, several of the companies have made amazing women's soccer shoes now, but it was a real struggle to find comfortable shoes for women.
So you saw a gap in the mid 90s, for apparel, women's shoes specifically. Yeah. When we've all seen that movie that Nike put out. I'm trying to remember what it's called.
Yeah.
With Phil Knight.
Yeah.
And
something Air.
Had something to do with Michael Jordan?
Yeah. Well, yeah.
We're totally botching this.
Yeah, but no, for sure. Yeah.
That's probably a similar era. That was probably even earlier.
No, it was right in that same area. Yeah, right in that same area.
Okay.
And I just think it's like, again, there was a need and I had to solve that problem.
Yep.
And that's kind of how everything else happens in my life now, is just kind of solving a problem as it comes. And then ended up going to school, change of situation, got married and headed off to Alabama for flight school with my husband. And yeah, totally changed. We met in the military and we just kind of changed my route a little bit. So then I was kind of, in a sense, kind of following him a little bit through this process since we were so young. And I kind of just had to get a job, right? I just had to get a 9 to 5 just to survive out there.
Yeah.
Of course, I always went back into retail because that's kind of all the jobs that I've had. I worked at shoe stores. I know that's also surprising. And, but I just wasn't ever into like a career. I didn't know where I wanted to go, but I knew that wasn't it. I knew I wanted to be a business owner because my parents both owned their businesses growing up.
Okay.
And that's all I knew. And so being an employee with how hard I always worked, I was always like, oh, this doesn't feel right. You know, I'm building a lot of other people's businesses and hurting myself in at the same time. Like I was working so hard, but there was no really end reward to it, right?
You're basically renting a house.
Yeah, exactly. So then I came back from Alabama, and Mike, my business partner, who I had already known for years as my best friend, was like, come back, I'll get you a job at Office Depot. You can run the copy and print center. And my dad owned a print company, so it was easy. And I was like, okay, let's do this. And that store closed. And then I went into opening Best Buy, got into corporate training, where I was training GMs and all this kind of stuff. And I got pregnant. And I was like, my husband's overseas. He's gone for 18 months. Like, I'm going to have a baby. And what am I going to do? I can't keep traveling like I'm traveling. I can't do the hours that I was doing. So Mike goes, well, I'm going to start appraising. I think you should do this with me. And so we just kind of started getting into, he made me quit basically and took me under his wing, and we've been partners ever since. But I've always worked with him for 25 years now.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let's back up just a tiny bit. So your parents both were business owners. Mm-hmm. So you grew up in an entrepreneurial family.
Yep.
So that was seen by you at an early age, whether you understood it or not, right? So that seed was planted.
Oh, I worked at my dad's shop when I was probably 6 and up. All
child
summer.
Labor.
Yep. Lots of child labor. Yeah. But it was so much fun.
That's cool. So he owned a print shop, you said.
So he printed it back in the day when they printed all of the paperwork that you get at hospitals. And then my mom ran hospice programs, and they kind of worked together, and he would print the programs and all the paperwork for all of these hospitals and, you know, in triplicate, all that kind of stuff that he would do that. Now it's not even a thing.
Okay. And then you came to Idaho with the idea of playing soccer and helping form a women's soccer team at Boise State.
Yep.
And you went to Boise State.
Yep.
And then somehow did you graduate from Boise State and then end up in the military, or what was that?
Yeah, so we went through ROTC.
Okay.
That's when I met my husband at the time.
Got it.
And I blew up my knee my senior year. And had multiple surgeries. And back then in the military, you couldn't have any hardware in your knee.
Okay.
And so that was where they kind of were like, well, you can choose to do this and go with your husband at the time to go to flight school. So that's how it kind of like changed my course of everything that I was planning on doing.
Okay, got it. So injury led to a bit of a pivot.
Yeah.
But you were always part of ROTC, so there would have been some sort of military service post school, no matter what, right?
Yeah, we
Except
went to basic and advanced and did all the same things, and was in MEPS and helped with the medical side of things and did that part.
Intentional choice to be part of ROTC, or did you fall into it? So you'd had some sort of interest in the military, then you would have had.
My mom's Navy, a Vietnam vet. And
your mom?
Yes, she's an amazing hero in Idaho. She's on the coin, the minted coin in Idaho, and she's on the wall in the Capitol building.
Is your mom from Idaho?
No, she's from, Michigan originally, but she has moved here when I had my first son.
Okay.
And she has now become like a huge Idaho veteran she's at every event here. She talks at every event. They bring her into everything. She's been given so many awards. So that's basically who I have to follow in life, right? Like I have to follow this amazing human that I'm just trying to like match up to, basically.
Yeah.
That says a lot.
Parks and Rec back in the day?
Of course, yeah.
Leslie Knope trying to be her mom.
Yeah, exactly. It is a thing. We joke about it like, oh, she's getting another award, or she's in the paper again, you know, and
that's funny.
It's an interesting thing to see. She's been never really noticed when she was back in California. And now that she does so much with the Warhawk and she gives so much time volunteering, she has just exploded in being recognized. And I love that for her towards like, in her 80s, she's finally getting all the support that she never got before. Cool. Yeah.
Awesome. Okay.
Yeah.
So entrepreneurial family, military family,
Mm-hmm.
mom very decorated and
Mhm.
celebrated. That would have led to your interest in the military yourself. And then it just didn't pan out for you. You ended up coming back here and dabbling in retail, it sounds like,
Yeah.
which obviously is not business ownership, but it was maybe a means to an end.
Well,
Or
customer service is where I got that.
I like it.
Yeah, I got a lot of my customer service background in the way that I think and do things and problem solve from retail for sure.
Yeah, I think that's really good experience for all of us in this industry. No matter what we're doing, if you can manage people in a customer service environment, whether it's a restaurant, whether it's a coffee shop, whether it's a fill in the blank, whatever, I think that translates really, really well to taking care of people on larger scale or larger transactions.
Everybody should have to work retail or work at a restaurant before they do anything. Like you have to understand what it's like working with the public and how important the public is for your business. It's everybody should have to do it.
Love it.
Yeah.
I agree with that.
Yeah.
Make them all do it.
Yeah, exactly. Where some people get into their businesses right away and they open a business, but they've never really learned that process. And I think you can learn a lot from, mistakes that corporations make and how you want to do things and how you don't want to do things for sure.
All right. And then a baby ends up being on the way. And that was your first.
Yep.
And tell us about that.
He's
that
20,
kiddo.
Almost 21 now.
He's almost 21 now.
Yep.
Okay. So fast forward a few years.
Yeah, it's a little nutso. And my youngest is 16.
Okay.
Which is also giving us time to do other things and kind of change the relationship with your kids, which is kind of fun. But I knew that I wanted to be around. Unfortunately, with my parents being their own business owners, they weren't as much, and that I wasn't upset about that. It was just a fact. And so I'd get, my friends' families would take us to soccer games, and I would always kind of find that friend and attach to, and they would kind of be my support system because they just couldn't be. Like, games were at 3 on weekdays, like, things like that in college or in high school, and they just couldn't be there. So I kind of had a mental thought of like, I'm not going to be that person. But it weirdly took me being an entrepreneur to be able to be there, which was the opposite of them being an entrepreneur and not being there.
Yeah.
But I think it's all because of our ability to use our phone more.
Yeah.
Like if I was doing this in another time, I wouldn't have been home as much. But I could be on the sideline of my son playing soccer in a tournament in Jackson Hole or wherever I needed to be. And I was still present, but I was able to be, helping clients at the same time without it taking away from my family time. And I knew I wanted to do that. And I knew I didn't want to be away as much as my family was. I mean, I was literally doing an appraisal, like rocking my son with my foot, and it was a fun time. And Mike, my partner, had kids the same age. They're 10 months and 5 months apart.
Yeah.
And so when we live next door to each other, which also is hilarious, but we would have a nanny come and just come for like 2 or 3 hours and watch him while we kind of knocked stuff out, or if we had to go do appraisals or anything like that. And so I was able to do all of those things at once. But again, I had nobody else to help me at the time. So just had to make it work.
Yeah. So interesting. You noticed maybe a little bit of absence from your folks because of their entrepreneurial duties, right? They're business owners.
Yeah.
They had to keep the flywheel moving, if you will. And yet that didn't scare you away from being an entrepreneur yourself. It actually just made you maybe more aware of maybe the downfalls or the trade-offs required, right? But then it sounds like technology kind of helped you to be able to be an entrepreneur and also still be more of a present parent than what you experienced growing up.
Yeah, there was no other way to do it. I knew I had to quit that job to be able to be home, and I needed to make money. I find myself needing to have a career always. Like I could have been a stay-at-home mom, and that's great. I just knew that I could not do that mentally.
Yeah.
And once we started taking off, I realized I could do both. And it was possible. And we had a really good conversation about it. And Mike was going through the same process with his son. And so let's do this together and figure out how we can make this work. And it was the best thing we ever did, for sure.
All right. So pregnancy kind of led to, hey, we're going to become self-employed. We're going to get into this real estate space. And that started with appraising. Mm-hmm. So how long were you guys appraisers?
I want to say it was about 8 years.
Okay. Long time.
Yeah. And then the old 2008 happened.
Okay. So this would have kind of been around 2000 to 2008.
Yeah.
You guys had a thriving real estate appraisal business. Is that right?
Yep. It was, Mike had an office in Hawaii as well.
Okay.
And we were the top appraisers in the Valley when you could choose. Remember those times?
Yeah.
And then it went to what we called the government line waiting for cheese, because it went from us going out and getting as much business as we wanted to standing by the fax machine. We had a fax machine.
Yeah.
And then we were waiting for orders, like, please, someone send us something.
Yeah.
Because now we were equally combined with every appraiser in the Valley, and they just went around, and whoever got the appraisal that day, whoever picked it. So then we were doing 4 to 6 a day for 3 of us each. And then it went to like 1.
Oof.
Yeah. It was rough. It completely changed our entire life, as it did for so many people in 08. But I feel like if you haven't gone through 08, like it was like we all went through it together. It's like almost like a war that we survived. It was in this industry for sure.
Well, and in this Valley specifically, right?
Yeah.
Well, and then I'm trying to think. My parents moved here in 2008. So it would have been late. It was maybe later, 2008, 2009?
It was pretty much the beginning. Well, it's 2007 is when it started to kind of slow down and start changing a little bit. And I mean, I remember doing appraisals on the same property for a bank 3 to 4 times before the home was built. And we were like, seems weird, right? Like, this doesn't seem like, why are we pulling money? But rates and the market was going up so high, you could keep pulling money from it. So all these, builders or, and bankers and everybody was just constantly trying to pull that equity to build the house. And so it was an interesting time, but we kind of saw, that movie that I think it's The Shorter. You kind of like, when we watched that, The Big Short, we're like, I saw it and they saw it too. And that's when that was the most real. I was like, something isn't right. This isn't going to go well. And we had a lot of people that we were owed hundreds of thousands of dollars by banks, and they went under. So that was like how to pay your bills and pay your house payment.
So many people in that time period that were consumers, they would show up, not even have to show up, right? You had a driver's license and a smile.
Yeah.
You could buy a home because the equity in the house was appreciating so fast. And then people didn't even have any long-term plan to own this home. And why ever pay principal on it? Because the appreciation is going to outgain any of the interest I owe on this thing, right? So I'll just keep it as long as I want it, and I'll sell it and print money and move on. And obviously that was the prevailing mindset for a lot of consumers and a lot of folks in the industry. And then it didn't last, right?
Well, I mean, to be fair, like the homeowners that really were planning to stay on that program, and they were fine, right? It was a lot more of the investors that were trying to get out or flip things and didn't want anything that was undervalued based on an appraisal. It's like, well, if you stay, you only lose money if you sell.
Correct.
Right? And so if everyone just stayed in place, it would have been so much easier. And I had this idea. I was like, I wish the government would listen, right? And I was like, if they just lowered everybody to like 5% fixed, don't say anything, just it is what it is. The arms go, lower everything to 5% and just fix it. Everybody could have stayed, and everybody would have stayed in their homes, and it could have like helped all of that from not happening. But it's like, but then it, it did things that were good too. It got people in the market when houses started to get to 100,000. It brought, it kind of needed to happen almost, and it fixed a lot of things, and it made us do things that we're not going to do again, and I don't know, it was like an unnecessary evil probably, but I felt like it was fixable.
It was a great reset.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And it changed lending guidelines forever. And now and since then, it's very difficult to get approved to buy a home. It's not no longer a smile and a driver's license.
Right.
You actually have to prove your ability to repay for crying out loud, and bring real money to the table and all those things. But, pandemonium happened, right? So the general public, when they start to see things falling apart or breaking down, people do crazy things.
Yeah.
They fire their employees, or and if you're an employee and you've lost your job, all of a sudden I can't pay my mortgage any longer. And it just starts to snowball. And I look at my parents' story without naming names, of course, and they lost a home in it. And they had the best of intentions, but it's like hindsight, should they have just figured out a way to keep making their payment? I don't know.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, if you figure this valley specifically is kind of its own, bubble, we are between 40 and 50%. It's changed a little bit in construction or somewhere related to workers in the valley having to work in either construction, mortgage, or something related to housing, right? It's a huge chunk of our population. So when that went down,
oh yeah,
I mean, Like, and now you think this is the worst part that we're seeing is because these guys that were sheetrockers were about to give their kid their company, they're like, we don't want anything to do with housing. We're going to go get a job at whatever, and I'm going to go get a degree, and I'm not going to do anything related to the trades. And we lost that middle generation.
Yeah.
And now we're like really struggling to get people into the trades because that '08 kind of took out what in a sense would be our age kids running these companies now.
Correct.
And that was a huge shift that people didn't realize that would be the aftermath of it, but we're feeling it a little bit more now.
I wasn't living here at the time. My folks were. My dad was actually part of a company, electrical company.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm pretty sure his job was eliminated, right? So as I say, maybe they should have figured out a way to make their payment. I don't know that that's even possible, right? When it's all said and done. But in all the conversations I've had with people over the years, an entire population of tradespeople just left because this valley was hit so hard from a halt of construction, right? I mean, I live in a neighborhood that was just ripping and roaring, and then '08 happened and we live in Paramount.
Yeah.
Right. And so there's two phases of Paramount, right? There's an old phase, the prior to 2008. And then there was several years of halted construction. And then our house was completed in 2017. Right. And times have been going real well since then, right?
Yeah,
and,
for sure.
Of course. But yeah, wild. History is amazing. I love to I could talk about this for 20, 30, 40 minutes, and we could just reminisce on the lessons learned or what lessons should have been learned, I guess, depending on.
Well, and what we're trying to fix now in a huge way, and almost to a point of like an emergency type situation where we're really trying to get these kids into the trades. And this is stuff that this is like one of our biggest focuses in what I do and what my association at the BCA is doing. I mean, it's a huge focus. We have to get kids back into the trades and kind of get them on the path of building back what we lost, I guess. Yeah.
Sure. Well, there's just long-term, call it generational impact, right?
Yep.
From those decisions and what people saw because there was a migration before 2008, people coming here. You were one of those people in the 90s coming here, and obviously in lesser numbers. Then '08, '09, 10, 11 happens, and the housing I'm guessing, I didn't live here then, I'm guessing the migration slowed, if not stopped completely.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Well, I think, of course, what happened in the '90s is, my parents were able to we bought a house for us to rent. All my friends rented from us. My parents bought it. We lived 2 blocks from campus. I had 6 roommates. We all
How much
paid
was that house?
Yeah, $116,000. 6 bedrooms.
Yeah.
2 blocks from campus.
And who cares that the rate was 7%?
Right. Yeah. And 7% all day long. They paid 16 on their original mortgage. So, but the cool thing is they had so much equity in their house in California, they were able to buy it outright, in a sense, just through the equity.
Right.
And they were able to do that twice. They ended up buying their house here later from the equity in California to buy their house here when they did their final move, and then moved here, and then were selling their house empty basically there. Yeah. But now you can't migrate when you're not making, $1 million more on your house from 1960 that's, 900 square feet, and so that migration has had to slow because now when they transition, they're not getting as much here as they were getting before. So you see them kind of moving to other states where the prices are a little bit lower. But then you see them, I've seen it so many times where they make that move to another state and they think, my property values are so much less, this is going to be the better way to go. And then you see them go slowly come back to Idaho. Like they went from California to wherever and then back to Idaho in the end. Because it really is about lifestyle more than it is about, you could figure the house part out, but people stay for the lifestyle for sure. The house of pricey, or the price of housing is fixable, and what they get. They just don't get a mansion versus, they get a 2,400 square foot house instead of 3,600 square feet.
Yeah. Rene Cornejo, he's part of Denise Ferrari's team. He's a good buddy of mine. I saw his Instagram post this morning. It said something along the lines of like, people don't move here for architecture. They move here for the lifestyle.
Yep.
Which is true. And it's good. Right. And so it's really fun. I did it. Right. I think it's fun to move to a place that you want to be for fill in the blank reasons. Right. Your problems are going to follow you everywhere you go. Right. Your personal problems and wherever those are from, you're not escaping them most likely, but it is fun to go live in a place that you want to live in. And it's been a blessing for my family. So
it's just weird that when I've seen so many people, and I don't know if I have this faith that I should have, but I have probably helped 30 people move sight unseen, in the sense they've never been to Idaho. They just know it's great and they move, or they come here one time and they drive through and they're like, yeah, I could live here. And I was like, I have never been to a place in my life that have had that reaction.
Yeah.
And that's pretty special if you think about what other place has that happened in? I can't think of one.
Never happened to me other than when we did it.
Yeah.
Right? We visited my parents with not really any intention of moving here.
Yeah.
And within 24 hours, we're on Zillow and we're looking, my wife and I are kind of looking at each other over our shoulder. Are you thinking what I'm thinking? And then, fast forward, here we are. It took us 6 months to get here, but.
Was it for what you saw as the lifestyle?
Yeah.
And raising kids?
We came from Western Washington where it was gloomy and wet and politically very broken and lots of reasons, right? Mm-hmm. But also aging, right? Like not a lot of fresh and new happening there. It's, it'd all been infilled years and years and years. And that's just where I grew up, right? So there's no shame in staying where you've been planted, right? Hey, I was raised here. I'm just going to stay here. But the way our economy has changed and the way the world has changed, and now you have the ability to kind of choose where you want to live. I think it's pretty fun. And honestly, it was the flash of fresh and new that we got to exposed to when we came and visited, and the sun, right? And just the cost of living and the smiling faces, and it's just a different mindset here,
yeah,
right?
For sure.
In Seattle, you had the Seattle freeze, which was not frozen temperatures necessarily. It was like the cold shoulder people would give you because the climate just forced you from, the streets. You'd pull into your driveway, into your garage, you'd close your garage and you'd go into your house. You'd never see your neighbors.
Right, for sure.
It was just, and that's just light. It's light and bright. And I don't know. It was fun. It was a really fun season to be like, oh, we could do that?
Yeah.
Yeah, you could do that. Oh, cool. Well, how do we do it? Well, guess what? I guess you just, you start to make a plan and find great people in your life to help make that a reality, right?
Yeah,
So.
I couldn't even imagine because I never did it that way. I came for a purpose in a sense, and I didn't know if I was going to stay or go or how. Like I would go wherever the military would take us or whatever. Like I could go anywhere.
Yeah,
and it just was like, this is it. This is like, why would I go anywhere else? It's a different kind of process, I guess, of why we came, but definitely the same of why we stayed. And that it's the people that it's just a totally different thing. When I go back home, I'm just like, oh, I just couldn't do this, and I'm so grateful that we saw that there was an option. Because if I stayed there through school, I may never known that there was something better and that it could be different. And there was a different way of life and this outdoors lifestyle and all of that. So it's kind of a neat thing that we just took the leap to come to school here when everyone thought we were in Iowa for years.
Yeah.
They're like, how's Iowa? I'm like, no. I haven't been, but I mean, still people that when I'm down in California, they still don't know exactly where Idaho is. It's a very interesting thing.
The states are almost.
I know. I was like, it's literally almost touching, but it's fine. But yeah, it's kind of funny how that works. So
very, very funny.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for sharing that story. Okay. So then we kind of get through the '08 crisis, and at some point you end up in.
We didn't get through the '08 process, really.
Okay, well, there we go. Right. So the '08 crisis puts you out of business from an appraisal standpoint. Is that correct?
Yeah, we could have stayed through it, but knowing none of those funds were coming in and the banks basically couldn't pay.
Let me ask this, because I wasn't in the industry at this time. Prior to '08, you would build relationships with lenders and they would just point where they wanted their appraisals to go. Banks would. And then that's in the days where they could direct that, right? And then, of course, with all of the mortgage rehabilitation that happened, right? And everything was redone, probably for the best, right? Now we don't get a pick as, on the
it's still the
side.
same as it was,
We can pick a panel or a company where we want an order to go, kind of.
Yeah.
But we can't.
But we used to be able to talk to people. We used to kind of get through it with the agents. We, explain to us what's going on as an appraiser. We would have way more opportunity to all chat. Yeah. And that has kind of gone away. Yeah. But we worked with all the huge banks and we did new construction appraisals. So we knew how to read plans and all of those things as well. There was so much new construction at the time. That's kind of where that started and being around all of these
So you were
builders.
doing like as completed appraisals then?
Yeah.
Properties that weren't done yet?
Yep. TBBs, then what we call 442s, which is like a completion once it's done. We kind of check on it and see how it's going. And we built a company and there's appraisers that we trained or that Mike trained that are still doing it today, which is really cool to see.
That is cool.
But we just said we can't survive off this anymore. We were used to a certain lifestyle and amount of money that was completely gone. And did we save or do anything that we should have? Absolutely not. It was just coming in and we didn't have to worry about it. And so we just all of us made really bad decisions and couldn't keep it going, could not stay alive. If my husband at the time did not work in the military, I would have probably been homeless. Like if I didn't have that career, like paycheck coming in so I could pivot, I could not have done what we did and stay in. Mike and I were like, well, I guess we'll do real estate. We know all the people. Never before that have we ever thought, this sounds like something we want to do. Like this is an avenue we want to go down.
Yeah.
And it was just kind of one of those things like, well, it's here. We have the people, we have the resources. This is what we know. Let's try to figure this out. And that was like the scariest thing we ever did.
So pivot from appraising to real estate.
Yeah.
Specifically. And immediately into new construction?
Yep.
Okay.
We worked with a company, a brokerage that did new construction at the time. And there is one thing about Mike and I is that we will never be outworked. And we were sitting in open houses for these builders just as a buyer's agent. We were not the listing agent, just to get something to do. We would sit out there, and for a year, we sat in a community and not one person ever came in.
Oof, that is hard.
Did we have to stay there because that's what the builder expected? Yeah, we did. And we did that so many times that we were the king and queen of like $99,000 buyers. And I'll never forget that we had one that was $330,000 and we thought we had hit
Hog heaven.
The lottery. Like we were like, oh my gosh. I mean, and by the way, we split everything.
So what year was this? That
08, 09. Yeah.
Okay, so that's a really big deal back in 08, 09, right?
Yeah.
I even moved here in 2017 and I bought a brand new home in the Paramount neighborhood for 408.
Wow.
So
It's
a
a great
330
number.
back in 08, 09 would have been a monstrosity.
Oh, I felt like it literally was like $1 million. And again, like that's the hard part is we've always done this together where we've split everything from day one.
Yeah.
And a lot of relationships in this business as partners, it never works because either I would be like, well, I got that client, or I did more on that one, so I deserve more. And there becomes this ickiness that comes through money, right? Because money kind of can ruin a lot of relationships.
Yeah.
We've never once had any sort of, it was always 50-50. I have my specialty in what I do, and he respects everything that I have in my path, and he does things that I don't do. And that's why it's been such a great partnership, because we have our roles. I will not do what he does, and he will not do what I do. So we need each other.
Yeah.
And that's been helping through this kind of this partnership, especially when you're, getting $1,000, like after all of this work. And you could be like, well, I deserve all 3,000. Well, we never once felt that way. And that helped us stay on course to continue to do our work and just try to get more under our belt. But it was really, really hard. And we just outworked everybody. And then builders started going, you guys are putting in more work than anyone else. You don't need to be here every day. And we're like, but we do, because what is our other option? We were never trained. No one told us how to market ourselves, and marketing was different then, right? Because I know it ages me, but like I think maybe MySpace was a thing, like when I started this, and we didn't know much about social media. I mean, our phones were like, you had to text the number like 3 times to get an I, you know what I mean? It
was T9.
Yeah, exactly. It was like nothing like this. And so we had no idea. Nobody has ever to this day said, this is how you should do things. This is what not to do. This is how to be successful. We literally had to figure it out by getting our boots dirty every single day. And then now it's great because we can tell a lot of people what not to do. But that was the one thing I wish I had, was more of like a mentor or somebody to tell us what to do. But back then, they were fighting for everything they could get.
Yeah.
And no one was going to collab with you and help you build your business. Now it's like, great. I mean, I'm collabing with tons of different agents to help each other build businesses, but it just was not like that. Very old school back then.
You were on the Western frontier.
Yeah. And it was literally like, if someone saw you walking down the street as a buyer, they would like come out of their open house to try to like get you in. But it was like all we could do to survive. Like it was rough. And we're not very salesy. I don't like that part of the business. I love selling the builder more than myself. And so that was always like really hard to say, I'm better because of this. That's why you should choose me. I was always like, oh, I'm sure they're great too. That's best of luck. Like I just couldn't do the things that I needed to do, but people saw the authenticity in it and gave us the business anyways, which was really nice.
Well, and I think if you were to teach a class now on how to sell, authenticity.
Yeah.
I mean, that is every good business coach, every good book I've ever read is all about relationship and being authentic,
Yeah,
right? Because
100%.
people can see through it and they smell it or whatever it is, and it's a turnoff, right? Nobody wants to ever be sold.
Yeah.
They want to be invited to be part of something that they want.
I had a builder was funny. I was in an open house with him doing a parade of home.
Yeah.
And we were sitting there. I mean, you were there 3 weeks, like nonstop, 8 hours a day, and he sat back and after everybody left, he goes, wow, that was interesting. And I was kind of like, what does that mean? Like, almost like offended, right? What did I do?
Yeah.
And because you get so nervous in those situations. And he goes, you're the most non-sales salesperson I've ever met. And I was like, and he goes, but your tactic is not selling. And you're so good at not selling that you're selling. And he's like, I don't even know how to explain it, but that was unreal to watch. Like you just were there and answered all of their questions and did everything that they needed you to do. And you never felt salesy, but you were selling them the whole time. And I was like, oh.
Accidental sales.
Yeah, that's good. I didn't know that's how, but seeing it from the outside, it was an interesting thing. It's the only time someone's actually given me any like response to watching me do what I do. So it was kind of interesting.
Would have been cool to have a camera fly on the wall and be able to look back at that and say, hey, what was I even doing? And it was likely being authentic, right?
Yeah.
It was likely just caring about the person and trying to hear their story and giving some of your time to help them feel known, I guess.
Exactly
I don't
what
know,
I do.
right?
That's exactly how I sell. I solve problems and I answer questions and I educate them whether they feel so that they feel comfortable in moving forward, and give them all of the paths that they can take. And because I'm such a problem solver, I just make sure that they feel they are heard and that all their questions are answered so they can move forward effectively, and all even the what ifs. This might happen, but this is what's going to happen. This is what we'll do. And they just feel a little bit more at peace through the process.
Yeah, that's good communication, right? When it's all said and done. I don't want to fast forward us too much, but I say this in every episode because this is kind of what it's all about. People like to work with who they know, who they like, and who they trust, right? I was listening to a message this morning from a pastor I follow out of Texas. His name's Matt Chandler. He was preaching through 1 John, and he was talking about knowing somebody. He was talking about knowing Jesus specifically, but let me say it this way. A lot of people claim to know somebody because, I follow them on social media, right? Well, you might know something about them, right? And our goal is that the content we're even creating would help people think that they know us.
Yeah.
But when it's all said and done, like they don't know us.
Right.
They don't know our kids. They don't know our wives. They don't know our stories. They might know things about us. But ultimately what we want to happen here is an invitation for somebody to actually get to know us, right? And so that's what I would say for you is my hope for this is that people would hear this and be like, hey, I know things about Jenn and I think I like what she's had to say. I like who she is. Maybe I could trust her, but it starts with actually knowing somebody, not social media and knowing them. Does that make sense?
Yeah, this actually hits hard a little bit because I have heard a lot of people say that I'm very to them, they're intimidated by me. I absolutely hate that word. And a lot of people are like, no, that's a respectful thing. And I said, to me, it's the opposite. That's the one thing I hate to be known for is to be intimidating because then I know they don't know me if they use that word. But I think they mean it out of respect in the sense of they think that they don't want to bother me with their time or asking questions because they're a new agent and they think I'm too busy for them. And if they knew me at all, they would know that that's exactly the opposite.
Yeah.
And that was probably the hardest thing I've started to hear is like, oh my God, I didn't want to come up to you. You're so intimidating. And I was like, oh, please, that just hurts my soul to hear that, and I appreciate the respect factor of it and appreciating my time and all of those things. But I am absolutely not too busy to talk to anybody. And I would never want anyone to think that I wouldn't give them all of my time or my, like open to conversation or helping, or I don't know. That was like the one thing I'd like to break that barrier of not intimidating. Anyone can call me at any time, which is why I also teach the classes. Like I am available like that. Please like reach out. And that's what we're here for. As we've been in the industry, 20 years, it's really about giving back to the next generation and getting them ready to take our place. And as you know, there's no competition in this. No one's going to do what you do and no one's going to do it the way you do it. So I am not worried about giving all of my trade secrets, if there is any, to anybody because they still have to perform it and they still have to find their group of people, there's plenty of business for everybody, you know, and that's my one thing that I hope to get out of this is that goes away, where there's not that intimidation.
I love that
factor. But that's the rough one for me to hear.
So good that you mentioned it, and then we can just nip it in the bud. It's not true.
Yeah, that's the hope. Yeah.
I love that. All right. So let's say somebody thinks they know you, right? And they actually really want to know you. What's the best way for them to get in touch with you? Tell us a little bit about the names of your businesses right now. We can put those on the screen, and we can kind of share what is the best way for someone to get in touch with Jenn.
Yeah. Well, this is a great time too, because obviously with opening Presidio, we're looking for agents to come on and join that brokerage as well. And then our team as well. If you're kind of focusing and wanting to focus on new construction and you're a new agent and wanting to kind of get down that path, we always are constantly training and bringing people on. And that's at Spotlight Real Estate on Instagram. And mine is at Boise Real Estate Pros.
Okay.
And then Presidio is just now kind of getting off the ground with their Instagram, and it's Presidio, Idaho.
Okay.
But also I'm always available for a phone call or an email or anything or a text, and come into the office. We're off State Street, so we're like not too far. And we call it Builder Row because we have like all of our builders around us. And so, but even if you just want to come in and learn about a builder, or like who not to use and who to use, and you know, any of those questions, just pop in anytime, and we'd love to be able to chat with you about that process. And if you have a client that's like, I have no idea what to do with them, that they cannot find a house that's existing, build it, and we will help you find the builder, find the land, all the things, so they have exactly what they want, and makes your job a whole lot easier as an agent.
Love it.
Yeah.
Okay, so we talked a ton today about new construction. You would probably slot yourself onto more of the boutique builder, the smaller builders. Is that
That's
right?
That's a great way to say it. Yes.
Okay, cool. I know Jason considers himself to be a boutique builder. So maybe just tease us out with a few of the builders that are prominent in your portfolio right now that you guys are supporting.
Yeah, we all, pretty much all of our builders are small custom builders. Obviously helped Jason start getting into the business as a boutique builder at O2 Construction. Another company that just came into town that we're really excited about, Ascend, is they're brand new to the area, and we're really excited, built in other states, but coming here. Tradewinds is one of the largest builders in the Valley that we work with, been building for 40 plus years, and is really on the uppers of like 1.8 to like tens of millions of dollars is kind of his product. So amazing stuff. I mean, they all can do it, but that's kind of what his niche has been.
Yeah.
We work with another new company, Diamond B, that just came into the Valley as well.
And I think I came out to that broker Builders Open, or whatever you called it.
Yep, it
was
is.
that waterfront place.
Yep.
Off of Highway 16.
Yep, and they're really great. They're trying to kind of take off into that niche as well. Tyler with Integrity, great human being, and that's another, like Jason, his wife does a lot of the design, so another couple through that process, which is kind of fun to get to know them. And it's just been, that size of builder is really kind of our specialty, because we're really able to make a bigger impact for them. And a lot of them, they're their only employees. And so we're there to kind of support through the whole thing. We're out there trying to find land. We're out there trying to get them money. We're out there trying to do all those things to help build their business. And we're talking like build social media, start from the beginning.
Yeah.
Like all the things. Like we make them seem like they've been in business 20 years, and that's what they need to kind of get started. And so that's like our perfect niche builder.
You guys seed them with legitimacy.
Yes. And they just don't have the time to do it themselves. So we pull it all together, and we're kind of their right hand through all that process, and letting them know how Idaho might be different than their other states, and the best way to go, and maybe even who not to, work with because they've, burned other builders or whatever. So we just try to get in front of them as soon as possible and lead them down like that right path.
So if you're a smaller builder that is looking to establish themselves, you're a great resource to help them get going.
Love to help them. Yes, for sure.
If you're a consumer that's looking to buy more of a specialty home from a boutique builder, you're a great resource.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yeah, we'd love to help them. And if you're an agent that has clients that wants that, we'd love to help them as well. And if you're an agent and you have a small builder looking and you're not really sure how to guide them, or maybe it's your husband that wants to build, bring him on and hop on board, and we can help you through that process too.
I love that.
Yeah.
Well, I'm grateful, Jason, for introducing us. It's been a pleasure to get to hear some of your story. Our time is not free, so I really appreciate you giving your time to us and coming on the show today. And I hope this was a ton of fun for you.
Yeah, thank you so much. This was really exciting just to kind of talk about where we have been and where we're going. And it kind of makes you reflect on like, you're a lot further than you think you are when you talk about it. Cause it's kind of scary. You feel like you're kind of sitting stagnant a little bit. And now you go, gosh, actually I've come from a long ways from '08, right?
Yeah.
So it's kind of an interesting thing to talk through it again.
So good. And I have to say it again now because you just planted the seed again. So measuring backward is something we always want to talk about on this show and just in life. I think if the goalpost is always moving, it's so discouraging.
It is
and then we never feel like we accomplish anything. But if we do take a moment and reflect and look backward and say, hey, where have we come from? I think that's where we can be really surprised and we can be really proud. And of course, there's bumps and bruises along the way, right? But we learn through all of that. So a great book, if you're curious about looking backwards, measuring backwards, of course, is The Gap and the Gain.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
Yep. Really, really good one.
One of my builders made me look at that. And I think the biggest thing is like, I think we're all survivors. And it's just like, I think that's a pretty powerful word, to kind of get through all of this and survive this business and survive any business, and especially owning a company. And I think you just get stronger and stronger as you get through this. So I think it's good to look back and somewhat celebrate the wins sometimes.
Love it. We're going to leave it right there.
Yeah.
Thanks for being here.
Yeah, I'm excited.